Welcome back to the Easy VC Brief. I'm your host, Max von Polnitz, and this is your weekly espresso shot to deep tech venture capital news. I'm in San Francisco for the day, and it is gorgeous. I hope my AirPods are working and ensuring the sound obviously gets to you. This is my first live co kind of podcast solution here, so enjoy. Quick gut check. Before we dive in, a seed round used to mean a founder, a slide deck, and enough cash to hire five engineers and rent a garage. This week, seed meant $2 billion. So today's episode is about mega rounds and why they're happening, and why slapping the word seed on a check the size of a small country's GDP is doing real damage to how founders and investors talk to each other. Three stories. Let's dive in. Story one, Adams, the 8-year stealth bet. Travis Kalanick just raised $1.7 billion for a company called Adams, led by A16Z, with Ben Horowitz taking a board seat. And in a plot twist nobody saw coming, Uber itself joined the round. The same company that, as you guys all remember, pushed out Kalanick as CEO back in 2017. Here's the fun part. Adams didn't come from nowhere. It's the rebrand of City Storage Systems, the ghost kitchen empire behind Cloud Kitchens that Kalenic has been quietly building for 8 straight years. Cloud Kitchens commercial kitchens were the training ground for robotic food prep, and now that playbook is being pointed at mining and autonomous transport too. The technical thread that matters here, this isn't a seed stage science project. It's 8 years of operational data from real commercial kitchens across 30 countries, feeding directly into a robotics roadmap. More importantly, they also bought the mining business and are now exploring how to acquire their third vertical. This is a company I met, I think, in Singapore nearly 8 years ago. I remember Warren and his team in Singapore buying up buildings and building out these cloud kitchen centers. It is crazy to see how far they've come. And ultimately, I am excited to see where this all goes. Story two, Walden Robotics, Toyota's seed unicorn. Next up, and this is the one that really sets up today's whole argument. Walden Robotics, a spinout from Toyota Research Institute, just came out of stealth with $300 million in funding and a $1.1 billion valuation. And Toyota is calling it a seed round. Walden was only founded in January of this year. There's a little bit of wind, led by MIT professor Russ Tedrick, and its real humanoid torso robots have already been pulling real shifts on a Toyota factory. And that's been happening since February. It's not a lab demo, it's actual production work. And the investor list reads like a greatest hits of industrial America: Toyota, NVIDIA, Boeing, Samsung. Hedrick made a nice, plain English point about why the robots have wheels instead of legs. Manufacturing has decades of approved safety standards for wheeled machines, and basically none yet for walking humanoids. Simple, unglamorous, correct. I love it. But here's the rub: a $1 billion valuation with a customer already live in production is not a seed round in any sense of that word. It's essentially a Series B with seed round paperwork. And that matters because it resets expectations for every other founder who hears seed and thinks they're supposed to be somehow pre revenue. But let's dive into story three, which is going to showcase Thinking Machines Lab, the $2 billion seed, and why A16Z needs to write checks this big. And that's part of the story as well, is why are these rounds happening and why are they so massive? Which brings us to the cleanest example of the whole phenomenon. Mira Murata, former OpenAI CTO, raised a $2 billion seed round for Thinking Machines Labs at a $10 billion valuation. It is by a wide margin the largest seed round ever recorded. Fun anecdote, here is just the sheer scale distortion. Crunchbase's own reporting basically threw up its hands at how far outside the normal data set this round sits. Murata hadn't shipped a product. There was a founding team full of ex OpenAI, Meta, and Google researchers, and that was functionally the entire diligence process. And A16C didn't stop there. The same firm led the Adams round we just talked about. That's not a coincidence, and it's worth explaining why. Here's the venture math. A16Z closed roughly $15 billion in new fund commitments at the start of this year. And it's across apps, infrastructure, American dynamism, whatever you want to call it, right? But that's more than double what they raised in 2024, and reportedly over 18% of all US venture capital dollars. When your firm is managing that kind of capital, a $2 million check into a true pre seed startup or seed startup doesn't move the needle, even if it returns 10, 20x. You need thousands of those bets working simultaneously just to return the fund. The math only works if you write checks big enough that a single winner can return the whole vehicle, which pushes mega funds towards $300 million or $1 billion checks into companies that already look like sure things, proven founders, existing production, deployments, or both. It's ultimately a completely different mechanism, right? I would call this more of a private equity model than a pure VC model. Ultimately, you're trying to play kingmaker. You're providing a competitive advantage with capital. And honestly, there are a bunch of industries where that might work. The technical nuance worth knowing, though, is what's actually being priced in these rounds isn't a product roadmap, it's compute access and talent density. The ability to pre train and post train frontier models requires huge capital commitments that look nothing like traditional seed economics. So A16Z isn't calling thinking machines and Atom seed because the companies are early. They're calling it seed because, gee, hell, I don't even know. If anyone has any ideas why we're still calling these rounds seed, let me know. I think the vocabulary is completely broken because fund size ultimately broke first. So, why does the label matter? We at Foothill are true seed investors because seed is supposed to signal risk, high uncertainty, unproven team. When Toyota, A16Z, or Uber are writing 9 and 10 figure checks into companies with live customers, that's not a seed risk. And the gap in vocabulary makes it harder for actual early founders to set expectations with their own investors. We ultimately are still looking for those bets, right? We're looking for early founders. We're willing to write seed checks and we're willing to underwrite that risk. That's your easy VC brief for this week. If you found it useful, subscribe, let me know. And as always, keep building.